Go!
So yeah, it's been a bit of time since I decided to pull a deadbeat dad and fucking dip off the platform for a bit. But I promise, I was just out there getting milk and getting lottery tickets. I promise. We had also run out of cigarettes. Anyways. So the real reason why it is that I was gone for a while is because of college bullshit. And because, I don't know, I haven't really been feeling content for a while. But I'm back, and in my absence, in my time being a deadbeat dad of YouTube, let's just say I found something at the 7-Eleven that was really nice. I stumbled across a game called Elden Ring, and to say the very least, it is extremely good. So good, in fact, that it's ended up becoming From Software's best game launch on all platforms, not just on Steam. Now, when the game launched, it sold extremely well. Part of this was due to the immense hype train that had been generated by the marketing, and then the sales that it made by people recommending it to their friends and whoever. So to say that Elden Ring has had a really good launch would be a massive understatement. However, I decided for my first video back to make a mistake and look at a recurring villain on the channel. Specifically, I made a mistake looking at this political genius.
How do we overthrow our government?
Yep, that's right, Harman Smith has returned. And for whatever reason, he has been bashing Elden Ring a fuckload, as he somehow sees it as a threat to Nintendo's popularity somehow, when this game was never trying to compete with Nintendo. So out of the blue, he decided to make a video claiming that Elden Ring didn't sell as well as people were saying, which is pretty bullshit and disproved immediately by showing the PC player counts. But anyway, let's get into his reasoning as to how it is that Elden Ring somehow hasn't sold well.
Hello everyone, this is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful, Rabbit Hole, King Deal, Lauren Frey, and the upcoming Jaw of the Dragon.
Oh, we're plugging our socials now. Well, in that case, please join my Discord and look at my Twitch and Twitter. It's pretty fun over there.
And boy, is this topic overdue. I've been so busy, I haven't been able to really sit down and talk about the discrepancies when it comes to the Elden Ring sales numbers.
And I can't wait to dismantle your argument regarding said quote-unquote discrepancies.
As we speak, Elden Ring has kind of passed the honeymoon phase. People aren't really talking about it as much anymore. It's kind of yesterday's news, and right now, the main thing that people are trying to use to keep talking about it is the sales numbers and the concurrent users on Steam, both of which are kind of ridiculous.
Ah yes, because people are evidently only talking about Elden Ring because it sold well. Not because of the gameplay, which is honestly top-notch. It's just because of the sales figures, bro. Gee, I wonder what could have influenced that. Oh right, the gameplay is good. And it was overall well received by not only critics, but also fans.
Especially the concurrent users on Steam, because I keep seeing this come up over and over again to try and prove that certain games are better than others. Like, no one cares. No one fucking cares. I'm sure Candy Crush has more concurrent users than Elden Ring has right now, and that doesn't make it a particularly good or interesting game. I don't care how popular a game is, okay? I care how good it is as a game. And as it stands, nothing I've seen from Elden Ring really indicates that it's really a game worth playing or talking about.
Now, he does say something that's actually true. A game's popularity isn't always linked to how good it is. For example, we have games such as Titanfall 2, which flew completely under the radar and is still a pretty damn good game. However, one thing I find extremely funny is how angry this dude is over Elden Ring actually doing well. Like, what did From Software do to you, man?
If it wasn't so vastly overhyped by Twitter users and YouTubers, I probably wouldn't be talking about it at all. This is the most frustrated I've been with a new release since probably Doom Eternal.
Oh, I remember the days of Harman Smith playing Doom Eternal, and hearing him put out his amazing review after only having played for an hour was chef's kiss. Absolutely wonderful. He expertly pointed out how the combat got worse because he was bad at it. But seriously, one thing I find incredibly hilarious is how he's upset, like legitimately upset, over a game doing well. Like, I'd understand if it was a toxic developer like, say, Blizzard Activision. But this is From Software we're talking about. What the hell is he on about anymore? But knowing him, I feel like he's gonna find a way to spin it into somehow being about Nintendo.
Every year it feels like there's one game, Sekiro. Like every year it feels like there's a game that the established game media try and push onto the consumer as being like the game of the year, which is clearly just an attempt to astroturf and pretend that Nintendo isn't dominating the industry. Like it's always shit that nobody actually cares about.
How the fuck did we all know that he was gonna spin Nintendo into this video somehow? But anyways, on to his actual points. First off, yes, I do agree that sometimes the gaming industry does tend to push certain narratives regarding games, such as the false narrative around The Last of Us 2, where games journalists were praising it as a masterpiece, when the game was clearly displeasing to fans. However, when both fans and journalists are agreeing a game is good, I think it's safe to say that it's being received well. And as for the last point, if no one cares about it, why are you spending so much time talking about it? Like, this isn't even the first video you've made regarding Elden Ring.
I don't even remember a lot of the game of the years in the last decade because all of them are very forgettable, very very bland trash, right? All of them are awful. And it seems like what the industry is trying to do is set up Elden Ring to be the next game of the year. And right now, they're trying to push this narrative that Elden Ring is one of the best selling games of the past 12 months. Now, that's obviously not true because it hasn't outsold Call of Duty.
I mean, if we're being honest, they don't exactly have to try too hard to push a narrative. The narrative has already written itself right here. Also, now that we're mentioning sales as compared to Call of Duty, let's look at the sales for Vanguard versus those of Elden Ring. So, according to this article from Ars Technica, Elden Ring has sold about 12 million copies worldwide. However, when you look at the newest entry in the Call of Duty series, for reference that's Call of Duty Vanguard, you'll notice that it has a significant drop in sales numbers in comparison to the year before. So really, I think the best way to sum up Harman's reasoning here would be,
my source is that I made it the fuck up.
And I'd also suggest it's obviously not going to outsell Pokemon, but like I've also need to address the fact that like I don't believe the stated numbers from Namco Bandai are real.
I mean, I'm pretty certain that if they reported the sales numbers wrong, that would be a crime. And I feel like a broken record saying this, but the Steam numbers alone are enough to disprove your argument. Because if they're that high on just PC, nearing almost 1 million players on just PC at its peak, then imagine how high the player counts are on console.
Like the 12 million in a month figure, I have a really hard time that many people have bought Elden Ring. Like it didn't feel like that big of a release. It didn't feel that relevant. It didn't feel like a phenomenal major release, like on par with Skyrim or a new Grand Theft Auto or something like this. This was just a new Dark Souls game, a new entry in like a relatively niche franchise that has only garnered interest due to being a somewhat different playing IP in like a sea of identical open world action games.
Isn't that what someone would want though, since open world games are usually just defined by Ubisoft bullshit by this point? Like, at the current moment, I would much rather play Elden Ring over a good deal of open world games out there. And it's not just because it's a good open world game, it's also a pretty fun game overall. Like, I've already beaten it once and I'm already back for another playthrough. Though I'll admit, this is on NG+. However, I do have 2 other characters set up for the sake of playing on a new class. Also, the sheer amounts of copium he's taking here. Bro, I want some of that. I'm telling you, I need that shit more than anything in the universe right now. Like, I need a copium high, okay? It would help me deal with the stress of college right now, and that would be great. Also, I'm not even gonna address the point about the larger release than Skyrim part, because literally I've shown the player count part too many fucking times.
Essentially. Like I suspected this game might sell a little bit better than Dark Souls typically does because of the open world gimmick and like the push for the casuals and like having George R. R. Martin involved. But like the numbers they're giving don't make any sense.
Yes, all the sales undoubtedly came from the open world, nothing else. Not the marketing campaign, not the fact that From Software had already established themselves as a good dev. Just the open world, dude. Absolutely just the open world. Now, I'm gonna admit something. When I saw that Elden Ring was gonna have an open world, I was kind of worried because, like, I was afraid it would fall victim to a lot of the same problems as other open world games, aka being very empty and devoid of content. But fortunately, the open world has enough to do for me to justify a second playthrough, and it still feels fresh enough after, like, about how many hours of playing for me? About 113 hours on Steam.
I'm hearing people like say it outsold Breath of the Wild, which is impossible. I'm seeing people like say it's going to be one of the best-selling titles of the year, which again is impossible.
So, it's impossible despite having sold 12 million copies in the first month of its release. Which, let's do the math real quick right here. Since every copy is about $60 US, that means From Software made approximately $720 million. So basically, that's after just 1 month of being out. And since the game has already been pretty positively received, that number will only go up as the months go by.
Like it feels as if the Elden Ring fanboys are trying to find any possible thing they can use to weaponize, like to try and pretend this game is a bigger deal than it is. Like people haven't taken like user Metacritic score reviews seriously since The Last of Us Part 2 debacle. So now they're trying to transition into sales numbers.
So, according to Harman, if you point out that the game is selling well, you're immediately a fanboy. However, a counterpoint to his other argument about Metacritic scores. Now, on one hand, yes, I do kind of get that, because typically people don't pay attention to the critic review scores and instead pay more attention to the user review scores.
Trying to push this narrative that Elden Ring is like the most popular thing ever, and that simply isn't true. In my from what I've observed.
You gotta love how immediately he goes from, in my opinion, to what I've observed, as if everything he's saying here is facts. Also, the way he paused right before saying, from what I've observed, just looks so fucking hilarious. I don't know why. Just, like, look at this for a moment.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer? Every night, I can feel my leg, and my arm, even my fingers.
Like, the man seems like he's having some fucking Vietnam flashbacks while talking about Elden Ring. Holy shit.
I don't see this doing better than games like Breath of the Wild or Animal Crossing or Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and nowhere near that.
Wait. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't... Mario Kart and Animal Crossing against Elden Ring? What the fuck kind of comparison is that? Oh my god. Yep. Yeah, hey. Look, I already knew I was losing brain cells by watching this video. I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't think it would be... Oh my god. Why do I do this to myself? Holy shit. This is literally the equivalent of taking a fucking shotgun and then proceeding to blast off every single limb I have. Kind of like Quantum TV with his YouTube career. Like, every single second that passes where I watch this video, I can feel my IQ decreasing. I guess that might be the reason why I find college so hard sometimes.
Not even like 10 million less sold than that. Like a 15 million units sold is probably pushing it. Like, Bandai seems to like put these like over 10 million figures. I'm not sure how they're faking the numbers.
Here's how they're faking the numbers. They're actually selling the game. They're not faking it. And if they were to fake it, that would be very, very illegal. Honestly, man, I want some of the copium he's taking. Like, I could use a copium high right about now. Now, I cut out the last bit of the video because it's just more of him coping with the fact that Elden Ring sold well, and also him being mad that Horizon Forbidden West sold well, too. But anyways, that's the first video I've made in a while. All I could say is I don't know how long I'm gonna be back for, especially given, well, college again. So hopefully I'll be able to make more videos over the summer since my academic year is coming to a close. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the flip side. Bye-bye.